Paul Manafort. He's in the house. I mean, I didn't just realize that. But what I'm learning about you is there's a lot more to you prior to then when everyone really full on knew your name in 2016. Okay, so I'm looking at essentially your Wikipedia page right here. My question to you is two-part question. Is number one, how important is your reputation to you?
My reputation is important to me. I'm writing the book to sort of at least have an historical record. Yeah. I mean, I realized in the moment in 2017 and 18, there was a tsunami against me. And there was no way me trying to put out anything was possible. Plus, once I got indicted, they put a gag order on me. Right. So that I couldn't say a thing, even though all the stories continued to leak and characterize me.
So your reputation is important to you, is what I'm establishing. So it says here in the book, it says it's no exaggeration that everything most Americans think they know about Paul Manafort is false. So I'm looking at, again, your Wikipedia here. Essentially, nothing is black and white, a lot of gray. So, essentially there's words at the beginning: power broker, political advocate, political consultant, political expert, right? And then you kind of keep reading down, and then it says criminal, tax fraudster, money launderer, scandal. So you have all these things, for and against you. So my essential question is, who actually is Paul Manafort?
Paul Manafort is an American who has spent his life trying to improve the political system and bring democracy to countries around the world. Paul Manafort has always been somebody who works with the United States government's interest overseas. That includes whether they're Republicans or Democrats in Washington, because overseas, I grew up with, there's, politics stops at the American border, and I spent my life doing that. The Paul Manafort of 2017-18 is not Paul Manafort. It's a lie. It was part of a social media orchestration to define me so that I could, and I get into this in the book, so that I would feel the pressure and give in to the system and give them up Donald Trump, which I wouldn't do. One, because there was nothing to give up, but two, because I wasn't going to lie, and because I wouldn't lie, and because I wouldn't concede to what was I considered to be a cabal against me. I went to jail and I suffered, and the parts of that Wikipedia that you're reading were written by people who were, some of whom were paid to stand outside the courtroom holding signs, traitor, go back to Russia, pro-Putin, things that I spent my whole life in politics fighting was now being used to define me when I couldn't speak back. In the book, I get to speak back. It's coming out in August. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be willing to come back here and talk to you with more of the details of it when it does come out, because I'm not afraid of talking about my life. I'm not afraid. My life is something that I'm proud of, and my book talks about why that is. My father became a Republican on a matter of principle, the only Republican in his family. He was elected as the working man's mayor. It was a blue collar town.
3 times.
New Britain was a blue collar town. Yeah. Stanley Works had their first. That's where their headquarters still is. Fafner ball bearings. All these is an ethnic melting pot. Irish, Italian, Ukrainians, Armenians, and I grew up where you lived by you played sports. You went to school, you lived by your brains, and you chose your careers by your interests. And that's the American dream. And I lived it. My father, my family company is a good example of that, which I chose not to get involved in the end. But my grandfather in 1919, at 10 years old, came over from Italy, sent over by himself to be picked up in New York. And he created before 1990, but in 1919 he created with one pickaxe and a shovel a demolition company that with one employee they would take down buildings, and the salvage was what they made their money on. We're in the 5th generation of the family business now. It's one of the largest nuclear plant it's not demolishing, but to deconstruct it worldwide. It's I think the biggest family-owned business in Connecticut now. They live the American dream too. Each generation of my family, And one of the reasons I felt Donald Trump could win in 2016 is my cousins are not political; they're businessmen, and many of them still haven't gone to college. I mean, they're the fifth generation is, but the fourth generation, but they were the fabric of our country. And they were all for Donald Trump. And they were calling me saying, what do you know about Donald Trump? They've never called me in my political career, asked me about a candidate running for president. It was a signal to me, what I already felt, but it was confirmation that Trump was onto something that when you got out of Washington existed in the country. Ronald Reagan understood the United States very well. He understood it because when he was the spokesman for GE and their weekly television program, he would travel to all the GE plants around the country, which were not in the capitals.
He was getting paid $1 million to do that. Eventually, they fired him because they said, you're talking too much about America.
But the point is, he was not going to the capitals because the plants were in the secondary cities and suburbs. But he got to understand the country. And the reason he was some of my treasured moments is when I traveled with him, the reason he was so confident in what he was talking about was because what he had learned about the American people.
Powerful.
Donald Trump was the same way. Donald Trump, through The Apprentice, different but the same kind of connections, made those connections with the American people. And I saw it firsthand when I would travel with Trump, just like I saw it firsthand with Reagan. Well, that's who I am. I'm that person. And I came to Washington to help to make a career on representing that and to try and protect it. That's not in the Wikipedia because the Wikipedia is a political document that's written by the Twitter types who spent all the time trying to define it.
I'll admit, I wasn't a fan of Paul Manafort in 2017. Straight up. Yeah. I'm now officially a fan.
Well, thank you very much. I wouldn't have expected you to be, but I'm glad you are now.
Paul, are you a movie guy?
I am.
Favorite movie of all time? I'm assuming it's number 2. Is it Godfather 2 or no?
You want to know my favorite movie of all time?
What's
Godfather's up in the top 5, but there's a movie that I really like a lot. It's a silly movie. It's called Michael. And Michael is, in the movie, John Travolta is an angel who comes down.
Incredible movie.
Yeah. And it's a movie about hope and about dreams.
Crazy.
And that is my favorite movie.
I would never guess you're going to say Michael. I mean, most people don't even know the movie Michael.
They probably don't, but to me, that is my favorite movie of all time.
Why did you think Godfather 2?
No, first of all,
Italian.
It's in the top 5.
First of all, if you have any interest of politics, you have to. You have to, because it's all power plays. That's all it is. Yeah. And to be able to survive the power plays of like what you're doing in there, that's not easy, especially for 4 decades. That's a pretty hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm. But I'm going to compliment you. I would not expect you to know Michael.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Early 90s. But do you think they'll ever change the laws for a guy like Elon Musk to be able to run, like a law to say they're not going to change? That's not going to happen. Yeah. So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.